All right, this is part 2 of the First Ladies, or the First Lady Boys, and we're kind of getting close to the mid-1800s here, and you'll notice some of the presidents had 2 different First Ladies, usually because their wife died, so their niece or daughter-in-law filled in. So the First Ladies, especially in the early days, were not always the wife, quote-unquote wife of the president. So someone else filled in. Sometimes 2 other people filled in consecutively or even at the same time. So we're going to start with Louis Adams. Louisa, just add a vowel at the end of a male name and you become female apparently. Adams, Adam, like Adam, the first man, the cosmic androgyne, according to Kabbalah. Now, is that a man playing the harp or a woman playing the harp? Quite a masculine face you have there. It doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to see what's going on with the harpist. And again, funny head covering. And there's another painting when it was younger. Looks like a wig, but again, you see the masculine bone structure in the face, right? And it is kind of interesting how they didn't try to paint that out. And it does seem to kind of resemble the president, John Quincy Adams. Very prominent family, so who knows what's going on there. I don't know if that is John Quincy Adams or if they're related somehow. They could have been brothers, cousins. And there's the mother of the so-called First Lady, by the way, who also seems a bit masculine. So still we're dealing in an era of paintings. John Quincy Adams was a member of this drag queen society at Harvard University that just by coincidence I recently did a video on called the Hasty Pudding Theatrical Club, Men in Drag. Harvard's Hasty Pudding Club for 170 years has staged theatricals featuring silly plots, collegiate humor, and men in drag. Presidents from John Quincy Adams to JFK belonged to the club. They're all in the club. Hasty Pudding Theatricals, the society where people cross-dress, and all the famous male actors go there and cross-dress every year. John Adams and John Quincy Adams. John Adams was the second U.S. president, and then John Quincy Adams was just a few presidents after that, all in the family, right? You got to be a drag queen to be president and to be First Lady Boy. It's just a big drag show. That's all it is. We're living in Sodom. So the next 2 were the First Ladies with President Andrew Jackson, but they were not his wife. His wife died. I think this was his niece, and then the next one was his daughter-in-law, although this was actually his nephew, I believe, and the next one was his son-in-law. So with this one, this is really the only painting I could find, and it looks like one of them is somewhat touched up based on the original. So it's basically the same painting. And it is kind of strange if you look at the shoulders. Yeah, they are sloping at almost like a pyramid. And then the neck looks pretty large. And again, the jaw and the chin are fairly masculine. On the black part, it almost looks like the shoulders just keep getting wider. The proportions on the body just don't make any sense at all. This one actually kind of looks like Julia Roberts with a slightly smaller mouth. Pretty thick neck. These are the ritual transvestites. These are called, in the Bible, they're called sodomites in the King James Version. In the ESV, they're called male cult prostitutes. They had a ritual function. And I do kind of wonder what role they play in the government. Maybe these transvestites are actually in charge. I think they do more than just kind of stand around dressed in drag. They could be channeling the principalities and powers who actually run the show. You know what I mean? Van Buren, daughter-in-law, pretty large bone structure. This one kind of reminds me of Cher, but generally someone with a large head and thick neck is going to be a transvestite and not actually a real woman, you know. Again, with a wig, makeup, and these weird things on the head. Now this one here, Harrison, This is probably one of my all-time favorite transvestites because it's just so obvious. Again, the head covering, right? This person probably just has a normal male haircut, short hair, barely put on any makeup at all, put this thing on their head, and posed for the painting. I don't think this guy was walking around in drag the whole time. There's no way everyone would have known, right? Very strange. Like, who is this guy? When he's not dressed up in drag, is this a president? Is this Mr. Harrison? Is this the vice president? Is it the next president? You know, so sometimes I still have many questions about what's going on here. But this is Freemasonry, all right? That's what it is. This one's pretty obvious, right? I think everybody who saw this, I mean, you'd have to be like really, really brainwashed to think that that's a real woman. So this one photo here, I think for most people, you could prove that at least one of the first ladies was a transvestite. Now, these two first ladies actually served at the same exact time and for only about 1 month because President Harrison died shortly after becoming president, like a month. He only lasted a month and then he died. And for some reason, he had two first ladies. One was his wife, who was, I think he was kind of sick at the time. And then the other one kind of helped out and filled in, who was the daughter-in-law. So this is a strange one. So far, the most obvious one, and just posed for this painting. And we don't know much else about this person at all, really. Now, Jane Harrison is probably the most difficult so far to tell. If it is a man, it's one of those guys with kind of a boyish face, you know what I mean? I wish we had more paintings or even photos of this person, but some of these people died kind of young, so they didn't even really exist when photography was invented. All right, so that concludes part 2 of our ongoing investigation of the first ladyboys of the United States. Hopefully in the next episode, we'll start to see more photographs, but just remember this was in the early 1800s, so they didn't have any photography yet at that time. I suspect this phenomenon of transvestites in the White House goes back to the ancient Greek hieros gamos sacred marriage ceremony, where the king would have a transvestite as one of his concubines, or even his wife, the queen, and that was to channel the goddess. The transvestite basically becomes the goddess, and that's kind of why they call them drag queens these days. You know, all these queen of pop, queen of soul, queen of country, right? They're all queens, and that means drag queen. You can call it satanic or demonic. There's obviously something supernatural going on inside these people. And I think it's a way for the government to tap into and communicate with and become subservient to the principalities and powers and authorities who are really running the show behind the scenes, commonly referred to as the fallen angels, because they're part of the drag race. So the word race has a few different definitions. Any one of the groups that humans are often divided into based on physical traits, regarded as common among people of shared ancestry. So that's the usage in drag race. It's a different race, all right? That's why they call it the drag race. They are drag queens. They're androgynes. They're demigods, they're human angel hybrids. A group within a species that is distinguishable. Yeah, they're androgynes from others of the same species. They may actually be a different species. A group of people sharing some habit or characteristic. Yeah. So the drag race show is not about a competition. That's not the definition they're using. It's not a contest. It's not a competition. It's really just code for a distinct group of people. In fact, it's code for a different species. So those flags represent the angel wings and the black and white checkerboard dualism. The V is the angel wings here. So the V that we see all the time represents angel wings. And there it is again, a fallen angel, essentially. Part of the creation trying to ascend into the heavens. The eunuch priest with the sun god symbolism the crown, the corona, and there's our good friend AOC, Cortez the Killer, future President of the United States. I'm sorry to tell you, I regret to inform you that this demon hanging out with another demon / alien is going to be a president of the United States at some point pretty soon, I believe. AC, Antichrist. It's a race of drag queens, all right? It's a different race, and they have invaded Earth, and they are exterminating humanity as it is written in the Bible. There's only one way out of this.
Join the revolution. I'm Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I pledge allegiance